Question: who is our regular Thursday guest? Answer: Dr. Chris Kopff, University of Colorado in Boulder, where they've been getting a lot of snow too. And we'll talk to Chris Kopff today about the wonderful new features of Obamacare, where you'll have a choice of staying home with your family or going to work. It's an American dream come true. Stay tuned, folks.
It's time for the Newsmaker Show on News Talk AM 1480 WLEA. Here's Kevin Torres.
And here's Chris Kopff. Now,
New York.
yes, you guys got hit hard, too. We were supposed to get really, I think, up to 12 inches. Didn't come anywhere near that. And our weather guys said, not going to be as bad. Then it started to snow again. and I know these guys. I mean, they're our weather guys, and they're dependable, honest Americans.
Well, unfortunately, the future of scientific prediction is headed south in this country between the weather and all the other things that have been going on.
Well, I once worked for a radio station where we used to say, now here's the official weather guess.
Did they really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's marvelous. I mean, those guys really understood.
Yeah. The official weather guess, friends. Okay, now listen. What night was it? Tuesday night. Friends, I know you're tired of me telling you that you're getting had by the mainstream media, but you are. And what I do is I watch Fox and I tape the others to see what the people are being told. The vast majority are watching NBC, CBS, ABC. Okay, here we go. Tuesday night, Fox led with the fact that 2.5 million Americans are going to lose their jobs because of Obamacare. And they brought on this interesting fellow from the Council of Economic Advisors for President Obama who said it's a wonderful thing. People will now have a choice of staying home with their families and pursuing their hobbies and still be able to get health coverage. Or they can go to work. They're going to have a choice. That's what it's all about.
It expands choice, exactly.
Yeah. Well, the Fox commentators held it up for the ridicule it deserved. Now, then NBC, Brian Williams, who has great style and he has the highest ratings. 4 stories in, after we found out that you ought not to use your cell phone if you're in Russia, and the storm and a few other things, he briefly mentioned it with a positive spin, maybe 20 seconds. So then my last hope was PBS, and they led with the story, but they brought on an NPR, which is to say left-wing reporter, who presented it the way the Obama administration presented it. You're going to have a choice now. You can work to get your insurance from your employer, or you can stay home with the kids or pursue your hobbies, and you'll still be covered. Isn't this great? Listen, how many people are still thinking in this country, Chris?
Well, that's a great question. That would be an interesting... Of course, they're going to have a lot more time to think when they're sitting home with their either no job or part-time job.
Yeah, well, no job and the kids screaming. Yeah, I mean, any guy in his right mind would rather be home. Yeah,
they're
sure.
upset because they got to go off to school to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, and they're going to be late because Daddy's sleeping late every day because he's depressed. He doesn't have a job.
Well, he doesn't need a job. He's still got his coverage, and he can get to know his kids.
We're going to be massacring in the international chess competitions, because it's going to be great because all our guys are going to win because they have all this time to practice chess. Which they didn't have before.
Hadn't thought about that. Right, hadn't thought about that
I'm
part.
going to write that to the president. He can use that on his next.
His next interview with Bill O'Reilly. Right.
That was another breakthrough.
Oh.
The only reason why people don't trust me is because everyone's watching Sean Hannity at night.
That's right. If it weren't for Fox, everyone would know what a great guy he is and what a fine presidency.
I mean, why do you want to admit that you've got everybody else brainwashing for you when there's only one alternative? That isn't a smart thing to admit.
We have Fox Radio News and we have NBC News. Well, you know where NBC is coming from. Oh, yeah. Fox Radio News is a little bit to the left, certainly not to the right. So we have that balance in our news presentations, not in our talk shows, because liberal talk radio flopped badly, and for good reason.
Huh? It got so bad that poor comedian had to run for the Senate.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he couldn't make it. He couldn't make it in talk radio.
Yeah. He had to take a government job.
Yeah, and not only that, the election was fixed, so he walked right in. Now we're talking about the guy from Minnesota, right?
Yeah, the guy from Minnesota, Al Franken.
Yeah.
Former Saturday Night Live.
Now let me lay out a situation for you that has great promise for the American people, but they're going to have trouble seeing it. And I want to lay it out for you and get your reaction. Here in New York, Donald Trump has indicated, yeah, I'll run for governor if they don't get in my way, if the Republican establishment doesn't put up somebody and I have to have a primary battle, all right? So what does the Republican establishment do? They put up a guy, right?
Sure.
Trump says, I may still go anyway. Meanwhile, I don't think he will, by the way. From people I know who've talked with him, if he has a primary, I think he'll say nuts to it. You guys don't, get your act together, then I'll run for governor. And he promised to cut the taxes in half. That ought to get him somewhere. All right. Now, meanwhile, Carl Palladino, who ran last time for governor and predicted all the bad things that were going to happen, but lost badly. Right. He said, I'll run on the conservative line. And most Republicans believe that if they put up the establishment candidate, that Palladino will outvote them, and the Conservative Party will then become the second major party in New York.
Right, we'll get the second line on the ballot.
Right, and the good part of that is, if the Republicans want to revive themselves, they're going to have to do it around conservative principles. Now, New York's probably lost anyway. I mean, it's probably going down the tube anyway. So maybe in the long run, that would be a good thing. So let's take that to the national level. The establishment Republicans on the national level, Reed Boehner and so forth, they'll probably go for Jeb Bush, another establishment country club Republican. And the other guys will put up Hillary or someone like her, right?
Right.
The Gerasenes. That I'll tell you later why I called them, the Democrats, the Gerasenes. All right. Maybe you've already figured it out. But the long-term effect of that will be just to delay the inevitable fall of the Republic, right? Which is it's going down the tube right before our eyes. A president who's taking on the powers of a dictator. And we've got this very weak Republican leadership in Congress. Can't figure out a way to stop him. And I think
they won't even speak out against him. And when Boehner was negotiating with him, he'd walk out and simply walk by the press and never make a statement and leave it up to them to make the statements.
Meanwhile, a guy that I actually like, Paul Ryan, is negotiating with Chucky Schumer.
Right.
Now, every time he shakes hands with Schumer, he'd be wise to count his fingers. But
and his wedding. See if his wedding ring is still there.
But, the thing is, if the Republicans make a deal on open borders, which is what the Democrats want, get more brown people in here voting Democrat, then the Republican Party will be history, too. So we're living in very interesting times politically. Now your turn. You can comment now.
Well, one of the interesting things is that there's plenty of evidence that the policies are not working or having a negative effect. And the Congressional Budget Office report that Obamacare will lead to a loss of 2.5 million jobs, which doesn't count the number of jobs that will come when the employer mandate kicks in. This is just based on what is there now, has been greeted by the administration with this fantastic semantic response that People have been overworking,
Yes.
because even though we have the smallest percentage of the population working since, I don't know when, the 1970s, people have been overworking to pay for health care. Now they won't have to.
Won't have to do it, right.
So we're going to have this whole country producing Pulitzer Prize-winning novels, becoming world-class chess players, having the articulateness and delicacy of Richard Sherman, the world's most famous Stanford graduate. And, otherwise we're going to have the most cultured country since, the Florence of the Renaissance.
Yeah.
Especially everybody's either going to be a great painter, a great poet, or a great thinker.
Or a great parent, because you'll be able to stay home with those screaming kids. Right, okay.
So much time with their kids. This is going to turn around this country on the family issue, and we'll owe it all to Obamacare.
Yeah. Now, you see it, I see it, Fox sees it, but do the people see it?
Great question. Great question. I must say, the ordinary American caught on that you can keep your doctor, period, was not a completely accurate description. And, of course, the response from the White House was, the president wished he had been clearer. Well, the problem was, of course, he was totally clear. He was 100% clear. You can keep your doctor, period, is the clearest thing you can say. The problem was it wasn't the truth. And here we have this situation where everything's going to be better. Mrs. Pelosi, who is really one of the great figures in the history of our civilization,
Great thinkers, yeah. Uh-huh.
promised us that there would be millions of jobs created.
Yeah.
And, of course, what exactly the opposite is true. Now, she didn't say millions of jobs will be created, period, fortunately, but the exclamation point, or as Megyn Kelly likes to say, asterisk being in the sense that that something totally different is meant. And it really is close to hilarious at this stage. The constant spin that is necessary to keep things going. There's a half dozen people on talk radio and on television that are keeping the country from appreciating the president's total success. And we're going to have 1 million more jobs when we have 1 million fewer jobs. And family life in America gets better when men don't have jobs.
Absolutely.
We know how men respond so positively to unemployment.
Yeah, oh yeah, and being home with the kids, they love it, yeah.
They love being home all day with the kids. At least the wife will be able to get a job doing something in a
Probably,
supermarket
yes.
or something.
Yeah, just to keep her from losing her mind, right, with the guy sitting there on the sofa watching the soaps, yeah.
Meanwhile, thanks to Colorado and Washington, there'll be free drugs everywhere.
Yes, absolutely.
And we've seen from the great actor Philip Seymour Hoffman how great it is to have easy access to drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have a bad effect at all.
No.
Totally. That's more positive stuff we'll have.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the future looks so bright, I could hardly see. The brightness is so great, I'm having difficulty. I got to put my sunglasses on here, just sitting here in my office, because the future is so bright, I can hardly see straight anymore.
How dumb is dumb? That's what I want to know. I mean, we'll see, I think, in the November elections. But I have seen some things recently that make me wonder if anyone is thinking. We'll be back in just a moment. Chris Kopff is here. We're talking about the wonderful news that you will lose your job, but keep your health insurance. And as the Council of Economics advisor to President Obama said, now you'll have options. You can stay home and still have insurance, or you can go to work if you really want to. And the future looks better than it ever did. Meanwhile, the Republicans are trying to get more illegals into the country, working with their friend Chucky Schumer. You think he has Ryan's wedding ring by now?
I think he does, and by the way, he got a very good price for it. I saw the ad. I can get it for you wholesale.
Well, okay. Now, here, talking about how really uninformed some people are, did I happen to send you the clip that someone sent me about the guy in Florida stopping people along the walk saying, I want you to sign this petition for Karl Marx for president in 2016. We have a president now who's following Marx. Let's put Marx right in there. Oh, yeah, I'll sign that. Only one person said, "Are you out of your mind?" The rest of them signed it. What are we doing in our schools, huh?
Efforts, right?
What?
That's the value of these grassroots efforts, right?
All right, now tell me what's happening in Fort Collins, another interesting view of the future. Tell me what's going on there.
Well, Fort Collins is a lovely little town north of Boulder, where Colorado State University is, and at Fort Collins High School there, the student council decided, with all the celebrating, Cinco de Mayo and all the other things, it would be nice to have a day celebrating our country, which they named America Monday.
Oh, you can't do that. No.
And, of course, the administration said that people who were at Fort Collins, like many university towns, there's a lot of people from around the world, and they would be offended by celebrating America, so they vetoed it. So then this got terrible press, of course. So now the administration, they understood. No, they objected to the expression America Monday because America is an abusive term to refer to America.
Yeah.
And they'd be totally happy with it, America Monday. And, of course, this is exactly the opposite of what they told the students to their faces, which is they didn't want to offend foreigners who were in the United States.
Illegally.
Now it turns out, no, they were more patriotic. It was the students who were unpatriotic by referring to our country as America. And, in fact, the administration at Fort Collins High School is about so patriotic they can hardly stand it. In fact, they would sign up for the Army, except that, they have to meet budget next week and get the school buses running.
Uh-huh.
And this is hilarious. The whole state is laughing their heads off at these idiots who first give away that what happens in public schools is anti-American brainwashing massively. And secondly, when they're caught with their anti-American brainwashing, they, again, just like the Obama administration, they spin it into, no, they were super patriotic. They were defending the name of our country.
What are they going to call it now? I missed that. What?
They were going to call it America Monday.
America.
Because Monday begins with an M.
Oh.
And there's the expression, I love America. There's this sort of, thing that, if you don't love it, leave it sort of attitude with America.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of a joke people do.
Yeah.
And so it was meant to be lighthearted and funny and have the same letter beginning, America and Monday.
Oh, America Monday. America Monday.
Monday.
Terrific.
It was kind of meant to be lighthearted and enjoyable and still positive.
Now, Chris Kopff...
The administration that objected to celebrating our country, as they told the students, then when they were caught, suddenly changed their line and said, oh, no, everyone misunderstood. We just objected to not calling it America.
Yeah. Now, Chris Kopff, you are a professor of young people in their late teens, early 20s. I know you have the honor students, but what is the general feeling among the student body? Are they beginning to catch on to how stupid all this stuff is, or are they just getting brainwashed like everybody else?
Well, the problem is the brainwashing is beginning to hit home. And so students are more and more objecting. We tried to have one of these special classes of brainwashing, which would be enforced on every student, but they decided to try it out in one dorm first. It was called CU 101. It was about how terrible this country is, and on and on. Well, what they had a really good member of our psychology department test the effect of this course, and then test the effect of a normal CU course on students. And they found out that the normal CU brainwashing makes people distrust other groups more, but that this course devoted to it really made different groups dislike one another. I mean, when they were taught this stuff massively, ordinary kids reacted with hostility to being told that they're vicious, racist, evil, exploitative, their country is the dregs of the world, which must be why everyone's coming here, because they're just sliding down.
That's why, that's why people are moving to New York, because it's such a great state. Now, we've lost 1.6 million, but if you went to the borders with other states like Pennsylvania and Vermont, they're knocking on the doors trying to get in here so they could pay higher taxes and do their fair share. Yeah.
All these people down south are trying to get into New York.
Yes, yes.
It's only the New York police guarding the borders to keep them out.
You know,
and de
it is.
Blasio is going to make it even better. I mean, with de Blasio and Andrew Cuomo, how can you guys lose?
We can't. It's lost anyway, probably. Although a lot of people think Trump could turn it around. Because
that would be great if he would run. At least it would be a lively race in which important issues were discussed, because Trump loves to talk about important issues.
Yes, he does. He does. And he's nobody's fool. Nobody's fool. No.
He's very smart, and he expresses himself well and clearly, which is going to make the debate with Andrew Cuomo hilarious.
Yeah, because Cuomo doesn't have that quality, no. Well, if it weren't so terribly, terribly sad, it would be humorous, but it's not humorous. So we've got...
I mean, we can sort of try to put a positive, humorous spin on it, but the negative side is many of our key institutions, like our public schools, like our press, are meant to undermine where we are and how we got here.
Well, we have more Americans who will be unemployed, but they're going to have Obamacare. We have more people coming over the borders who will vote Democrat and keep this thing going. We have the Fort Collins School, which is celebrating Merica, M-E-R-I-C-A, I guess. And there are other interesting things happening, all of which spell doom, D-O-O-O-O-O-M, doom. But what can we do about it? Huh? You know the old thing. Somebody put this up on a wall somewhere. The problem with the world is apathy, but who cares? Thank you, Chris Kopff.
Great to talk to you.
And stay on the line. We'll have Chris back next week. Tomorrow, Dr. Heinemann will join us. Now, Heinemann last week created a straw man, called him Kevin, and then destroyed him. He's not going to do that again. I'll tell you that right now. He created a straw man, called him Kevin, and then went after him. Tell them what a straw man is, by the way, Chris. A lot of people don't know that.
Well, a straw man is just a bogus figure to oppose.
Yeah, right.
But you've created because you can already refute the bogus arguments you've given him.
That's right. And it happens all the time. You attribute something to someone and then go after them when, in fact, they never said it. Okay, that's it for now. NBC News coming up next. And then more interesting talk throughout the day on AM 1480 WLEA.